What's up, Temple? What's up, Philly? What's up, world? Welcome to Philly Famous Podcast. I'm your host, Greg Holzman. The show highlights Philly's most dynamic creators and leaders, and we've featured both legends and up-and-comers from the worlds of sports, music, business, and activism. Why do you think you've been able to stay so relevant in the sports media world for so long?
What's the old line? Half of it or 75% of it is just showing up. Well, that's one. I mean, I show up. I show up on time. I like to think I'm prepared. And the biggest thing is I'm into it.
So how do you manage cooking? Because you still are a line cook sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Cooking, managing restaurants,
Family.
You still play music.
I still play music.
And these other hobbies that you have. How do you manage all that? How do you balance it?
So I just have like one bucket. And that's like everything's in there. Like family, vacation, home, everything, you know?
But out of high school, you received numerous scholarship offers. Why'd you pick Temple?
I would go to the Palestra and watch the Big Five games. I would go to McGonigal Hall and watch the games. A lot of the local Philly legends were playing for Temple at the time, and I enjoyed watching those guys play. And it was something about being in that arena that said I want to be a part of that.
So did you become a vegan because, like, for health reasons, or because you're this animal lover and all that?
You know, when I realized that what we eat can absolutely turn on and off cancer cells, animal protein specifically can activate cancer cells within and cancer growth within our body. That I read that and thought, how doesn't everyone know this? You know, why?
How would you characterize the music scene in Philly?
It's diverse. Philly it's probably the most talented, like musically creative place that I've ever been to. And like I've been to a lot of different cities, but it's just
Even Atlanta?
I'd say more so than Atlanta, honestly.
How important in this journey of yours has patience been?
The most important. On the front cover of the book that I write most of my raps in, patience. One big word, just patience, over the top of it, because that's really like, it's wild you said that, because that's really like something that I just like live by. Like, you gotta be patient, like, especially since so much in this life is cyclical. You know, it's nothing new under the sun. What has been will be again type situation. It's like, just gotta wait your time.
In the last 25 years, how have you seen our city change?
I hope it's become a little more inclusive. I hope it's become a little more world class from a sports angle. You know, I know we tried to get the Olympics, and while many might have been laughing at their sleeves about that, I could see the Olympics in Philadelphia. I was thinking about, you know, Franklin Field, what they would use that for at Penn, what they would, whether the opening ceremonies would be at the Link, how you could have sailing either on the river, you could have it off the coast at the Jersey Shore. There would be venues. It would be awesome.
You've got it all mapped out. You should be the chair.
Yeah.
Coach Chaney, another legendary coach, Hall of Fame coach. How did he impact you differently than Coach Ellerbe?
Coach always found ways to keep me off balance.
Uncomfortable?
Uncomfortable. And I guess you do your best work when you're a little uncomfortable in life. I think when your back is up against the wall, I think you push a little harder. You fight a little bit more. And I always was a hard worker. And when I got around Coach Chaney, it was, you know, I could think that I had a good day of practice, and he'd tell me I played like crap or I didn't hustle enough. And that always had me thinking. If I had a bad day at practice, or at least I thought I had a bad day at practice, he would tell me, you know, hey, you did a really good job. And so he kept me off balance in that way, and it always I always wanted to please him. I'm a pleaser in a sense where, you know, I want to make those guys happy and proud of my work. So I realized at an early age, if you put out a good amount of effort, day in and day out, you'll get good results. And that's the only thing that I try to do when I play for those guys.
So now at Temple, you're the Director of Career Services. Is it challenging for you to give advice to communications media students given the rapidly changing media landscape?
You know, I was just talking to a professor about this because, you know, back when I started, the technology would change every 10 years. And then it changed every 5 years. And then I swear it feels like it changes every 5 minutes now. I think there's some things that will never change. Storytelling, how to interview, how to talk to people, how to create stories. Even though it may be on different platforms, words, how to communicate stories, that will be somewhat the same. Whether it's so many characters or a picture in a headline or a video, storytelling, good storytelling is good storytelling. Platforms will change. The content is going to move. That is going to be hard to keep up with. And that is, quite frankly, that is going to be for your generation to figure out, because it's not where it is today is not where it's going to be.
You mentioned that everything you're a part of is a team. You're a coach of Temple University men's basketball. You were. In every team that you're a part of in life, do you find yourself as the coach?
Not necessarily. No, I don't. I defer to others who are more understanding of the job at hand. So in my academic world, I have other people that know more than I know, and so they're the coach. They're teaching me. I'll be honest with you, when I have been in the classroom in the last 12 years here at Temple University, I know that I have learned way more than those students have learned from me. They have taught me, I've watched, I've listened, I've learned, and it's a wonderful opportunity for me to get better every single day when I get into that classroom. So I think we can all be coaches. We can all be players in this situation, and I want to be a little bit of each. I want to help in some ways, but I also want to learn and how I can grow and get better as a teacher, as a coach, or whatever it happens to be.
When someone walks into a Vetri restaurant, what do you want them to feel, smell, hear?
Hospitality. I think that a lot of restaurateurs, I think that they sort of focus a little bit too much on like the look, the vibe, the food, which obviously you have to have a look, you have to have a vibe, you have to have really incredible, things, for food. But I think it's hospitality that sometimes gets overlooked. And I think that, that was always it, whenever you ate at the other restaurants, whatever the level, obviously, some were, less expensive than others, some were super fine dining, some were, obviously just, your neighborhood restaurants. But there was always a level of warmth and hospitality, and I think that's what we're sort of that's
what you're known for.
That we're known for.
So for you, is it more about the food, or is it about creating the?
It's about everything, man. You can't just like focus on the food. You're gonna lose. You have to think about everything. Everything has a little bit, happening. The look, that's important. The vibe, that's important. The food, that's important. The service, that's important. But it all has to work with each other. Mm-hmm. And that's the hard part, knowing what the restaurant is. You've eaten at some restaurants where you're like, oh man, the food's good, but like it's weird in here. Maybe the music's too loud, or there's the server's just not interactive mm-hmm. with you, and it just leaves like it just makes it negative for you. I mean, I think
If there was a movie made about your life, what's the one scene that absolutely cannot be left out for people to fully understand really who you are?
That's a good question. Not to get too like sad or morbid or anything, it would be two scenes, but it's something that affected me, and I didn't know how much it affected me until I got a little older. Both of my grandmothers have passed on, and I like found both of their bodies at different times in my life, and never knew how much that affected me, but also like negatively, and I had nightmares growing up all the time and things like that. But also on the other side of it, I've come to realize that like it's a reason that I was the one.
You were the first on the scene both times?
Both times. It's a reason that I was the one, and I feel like that's like a person's like last wish. Like I want to make sure, like I just feel like some type of power was transferred to me, some type of like all of the knowledge that they've given me or they had given me over my life. And this was different times in my life. I think my first grandmother, I was around between like 6 and 9, and my other grandmother was 6 years ago. So these are different times in my life. But I just feel like they gave me something special, and I know for a fact like they're over me right now watching, because I was the last one, you know, to see it. It was a reason.
Did you process it differently each time?
Yeah, because the first time I was young, and I knew, you know, what was going on and everything, but my mom was with me, and I just watched how she moved in it. And then the second time, you know, I'm the only one on the scene, only one there, and I had to, you know, call and be the strength. Both times I had to kind of be like a rock for everyone.
Have you incorporated either of those experiences into your music?
Yeah, for sure. I talked about it for the first time on a song called 3 Wishes that my cousin Hank McCoy produced. And I said, I found both my granny's bodies, wonder if they even knew the strength they was giving me. I see a lot of them in me. And that was the first time I ever actually even said it out loud. Like it just came on the paper. I was like, yo, I really did. Like I never even thought about it. But yeah, so I've incorporated it in that way, and I put them on the artwork for the song and all of that. So.
And that multiculturalism fits into the food landscape. You know, there's Chinatown, there's great food in Fishtown, Italian food, and there's West Philly where Hip City is located.
And so important. Yeah. A diversity, multicultural environment is so important to, especially food.
Where does Philly fit into the more progressive food landscape in the way that Hip City is progressive?
I mean, Philly is, you know, definitely standing tall next to even LA and New York for plant-forward food. You know, I'm really excited that we have, you know, several vegan restaurants in the city, and we're helping to create that environment here. But I think on every menu, almost not every, but a lot of the menus, you know, that I'm looking at, or restaurants I'm going to on a regular basis, there are plant-based options on the menu.
So he was still that father-like figure in the same way that Coach L was.
Absolutely.
It's interesting you talk about being uncomfortable. When I played in college, we had a sign at the front of our locker room that said, "Get comfortable with being uncomfortable." And you're right. You know, you can't really grow as a person or a player, I guess, without getting out of your comfort zone and pushing yourself. When you got to the Sixers, you had already had the benefit of having 2 Hall of Fame coaches in Coach L and Coach Chaney. What more could Coach Larry Brown add to your life as both a player and a person?
He was very detail oriented in his style, and the one thing that he did with a lot of his players, if you look at the history of Larry Brown, he's one of the coaches that can get the max out of all of his players, and he injects that confidence in you from day one. From day one, he'll look you in your eyes and say, "Hey, you're my guy. You're going to play for me. Here's what you have to do." He give you a plan and say, "This is what I need you to do every day." And he was fun to play for. You know, you'll have your moments with him because he tests all his players. He could tell you to go down the floor and go right. You'll go down the floor and go right, and he'll be telling you, "I told you to go left." But if you in sports or you in basketball long enough, you'll understand that's how coaches operate sometimes.
Really cool.
And it's got to be cool that there really aren't any other groups, especially in Philly, doing what you guys are doing. So when you're comparing to other people, they're not you.
Yeah.
There's really no one to compare you guys to.
Yeah, for sure.
Over the last 5 years, can you take me through some of the peaks and valleys of the journey?
Yeah.
Highlights, lowlights?
Sure. I mean, I think one of the biggest highlights is just kind of like us really deciding to do it. You know, like there's like the decision to like, okay, we're a band and we're gonna like play shows on Fridays, Saturdays, and you know, maybe record an album like when we can, and but then like there was a moment where we just decided like, no, we're gonna do this, and it was the best decision that we've ever made, in my opinion. And that was actually the day that Joey told us that he was gonna have a son. So we were like, all right, either we're doing this or
This isn't time.
Yeah. So that also kind of weaves in like the day that I realized that my godson was coming into the world. Was probably one of the best days ever. And then, you know, there were always with this story, there's always times where like you travel, you know, 3 hours, 3.5 hours for a gig, and you're, you know, out all day and you don't have $2 in your pocket to go buy food. And, you know, at the end of the night, like everybody walks home with maybe $10, you know, and that's happened. And, you know, there's been times where we've performed, you know, here in Philly, and like people don't know who we are, so it's just kind of like, yeah, you guys are gonna go on next, and then somebody else goes on. Oh, you guys are gonna go on next, and somebody else. And now it's 3 a.m. and I've got class the next morning, like at 8, and I've just been at this venue for forever, and now we have to pack up all our stuff and leave.
But you have performed at some pretty substantial venues, right? At South by
for
Southwest,
sure,
Firefly.
Firefly,
Were
yeah.
those some
for
of the
sure.
highlights?
Yeah. Those are huge highlights for sure. And you know, all of these things, they just kind of add context to the story, you know, and it makes like those moments where like, you know, we like, especially early on when we'll play a show and maybe there's 10 people in the crowd, they like make the moments where we're at Firefly and like being driven around, and there's like, you know, VIP sections, and people are just like, oh, you guys are performing, you know. And like I've had high school friends, like especially for the Firefly thing, they hit me up like, yo, is this your band like performing, you know? They make those moments so much sweeter. So yeah,
lows make the highs
yeah,
better.
the lows make the highs like that much sweeter for sure.
What well-known living or dead Philadelphian do you most admire, and why?
I would have to say, hang on, let me think about that. I mean, the stock answer has got to be what?
A lot of people say Will Smith.
Oh, no, I'm not saying Will Smith. I love Will Smith. But no, I would say Benjamin Franklin. I mean, I would say Benjamin Franklin because this guy invented electricity, invented the printing press. He signed the Declaration of Independence. He was an ambassador to France. The things that he did at that time, think about that. There's no electricity. There's nothing, man. We're working with a candle at night. And he just never stopped learning. Never stopped learning. Never stopped plowing forward. That he has such an effect on Philadelphia to this day. It's 350 years since his birth plus, is amazing. You think about all the things that are named aside from the Ben Franklin Bridge that've got Franklin on them, and that's from the 1600s into the 1700s.
Gotta wrap it up. No! Thank you so much. A lot of fun. Give me a cheesesteak place. Favorite place to get a cheesesteak?
Jim's.
Jim's, South Street?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of fun. Thank you so much, and I really appreciate you doing this. If you want to continue following Philly Famous Podcast, find all the episodes on phillyfamouspodcast.com, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your listening in. Again, we're going to do so many more of these episodes with TUTV coming soon. Thanks for watching. Michael, thanks so much.
I'm proud of you, buddy.
Thank you.
Proud of you. Keep it going.